It shows the first question, what is Python data model? So Python data model is nothing but a little bit of confusing and a fancy uh, term that describes how Python manages its classes. For example, let's say manages not just its classes, but its functions, its iterators, its coroutines, sequences, etc., etc. Yeah, so in any application, you have either data or functions. So as long as you have data, you need to represent it in your code. So when you have to represent data in your code, you will be using a class. The class will be the representation of the data. And in Python, how you represent the class, they have formalized that thing and they call that thing as a Python data model. So for example, if you're coming from the Java background, you will notice a difference, apparent difference that is showed over here in the first line. Length of collections versus collections.length. In Java, probably you'd see that like this, collections.length. Whereas in Python, it is much like this, length of collections. I'm sorry, length of collections, like length of collections. What is it? So this is like the first one that you see is the pythonic way of doing it. The other one is not pythonic and it does not exhibit the Python data model here. So why this thing works and why it is considered as part of Python data model, we will see in a minute. Yeah. So for now, so now let's move on to to understand the framework a little bit so that you will have much more clarity. So Python is a framework, right? It's a language as well as a framework. It provides you a lot of features that you can use to exhibit and reusability in your code. That means and it's something like that you don't have to do things over and over again if you use the Python's framework appropriately. Yeah. So for an example, every data has fixed set of properties. So for example, you want to, regardless of what type of data it is, you always want to know what is the length of that data. Yeah. In in any part of your program, whenever it comes to knowing the length of the data, it is independent of that type of data, right? So Python's frameworks, um, uh, founding fathers and creators, they identified this thing, this simple thing, that the data has common properties. Yeah, you have to slice the data to use it. You have to combine the data to use it. You have to know the length of the data, as we just explained. So these functions, you don't have to code by yourself. Yeah. So in every of your data class, every of your class, these functions come to you from the Python framework as how to say as a ready-made piece of cake for you to have it. Yeah. You don't have to worry about it, like how to do it. But for that, it does not give you guarantee that every time, because based on the nature of the data, every time you get it. No, you have to sometime implement a little bit here and there, but the interface remains same. And that interface, for example, that you see here, length of collections remains same regardless of the collections. Collections of type whatever, it's a person, it's countries, it's equities, it's shares, whatever, in the finance domain or non-finance domain, it's everywhere it's same. Yeah. So this is basically is the Python data model in nutshell. Yeah. So providing to use full potential of the Python framework, You need to provide Python data model. You need to implement Python data model. That is what it is. So let's move on. So what benefits do we get? The next question. Yeah. What benefits do we get? So you get reusability, as we have already seen. You not just get the reusability, every user of your class knows how your class gonna function. Yeah. As long as you provide the Python implementation of the Python's required functions that activate the Python framework. Yeah. How to implement data model in domain data classes. So there's a typo there. By implementing special methods like get item, not just this get item, there are many more. We will see in a minute, like what are those items. So it could be get item, length, ripper, etc.